All right, guys. We're back, baby. House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 7. I'm sorry, I took a break. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Remember to subscribe, comment, share. It really helps me out a lot because YouTube hates small content creators. And honestly, I was really disappointed. And that's why I was like, I don't even want to review the other episodes, but whatever. This episode brought me back. Not gonna lie. I feel like Oscar Tully kind of stole the show, and that's hard to do up against dragons. But we're gonna get into other stuff and this episode. Let's just do this. I like Adam of Hull. I'm more of an Alan fan, but I am an Adam of Hull fan. I was glad he got his dragon. I'm glad he got Sea Smoke. But let's be real, guys. It's not what they're doing in the show, in the other two episodes. It was, why are we walking around and gawking at stuff for so long? Why do we have Daemon doing spooky castle time and all for 5 minutes of looking around? That's what was bothering me. It wasn't what was happening. I did like having Rhaenyra hook up with Mysaria. I did like that because then it folds into now of going, hey, you're spending a lot of time with her more than others, and Jace calls Rhaenyra on it, but the whole back and forth between Adam and Rhaenyra was great. I thought that was really awesome and really well done. And even her questioning it, going like, you're real quick to kneel, yada, yada, yada. I loved how all of that was handled, though. Another thing I'm going to give this a lot of credit for, because I did really love the food riot in the other episode. That was really smart and really well done. But outside of that, showing how much the small folk affect things and carry messages and this, that, and the other, this did that really well when we showed Aemond getting rid of the Kingsguard and then getting the messages into King's Landing, which we'll talk about in a minute. But even then, we hear Larys F up foot and the other guy going, well, how did they hear that somebody got a dragon? And they're like, well, my stable hand heard it from his dad, who heard it from this guy, who heard it from that guy. And what they're trying to say is, people know this. People know this. This information is out there. This is not something we can control. This is, now everybody knows now they got another dragon rider. They got more dragons. And the show has always very much been about the small folk and these things, but they did a really good job in a concise way of doing that. And in Game of Thrones, they did a really good job, even if they didn't show certain things, like the way the small folk were doing their hair, the way Cersei was in the capital, and that trickled down, showing how much the royals affected them in little ways without even saying anything or needing that to be a point. But this episode did that well, of showing how it trickles down and how messages get passed and how this information can travel as fast as it does. Another thing it did really well, especially with the end of the episode, showing how close in proximity Dragonstone is to King's Landing. Because I keep saying this too, they need to be showing a map more. Because if you don't know what Westeros is shaped like or where things are located, you might be thinking Game of Thrones stuff of going, they're really far away and they're far away. No, Dragonstone and Driftmark are practically next door neighbors, and they're like a stone's throw away from King's Landing. When Rhaenyra comes back with Adam and the council's like, oh, no, she's not with them. And then later on, because she's with Mysaria, right? And then later on, we have Jace coming in and going, oh, so you're with her? I really liked that. But what Mysaria is telling Rhaenyra is that, I know there's tons of bastards. This ain't nothing new. I can find you 50 of them if you want me to. And the way that was quickly done was well done. But later on with Jace, I thought that scene was really good because at first I was like, whoa, you're saying some messed up stuff. We're calling people mongrels and things like that. But we show how much Jace is having an identity crisis. He's like, oh yeah, you didn't think that I would favor my father before you were banging him, Mom? And it's like, why don't you chill out, kid? Why don't you chill on that? How about that? The world's complicated. And I liked Rhaenyra shutting him down, but I did see where Jace was coming from, where he's like, well, one of these silver-haired people is going to come in and contend with me for the throne. It's going to mess up the succession, possibly, and now I'm scared. My thing is this, you're a boy. My other thing is this. Remember in Game of Thrones when Cersei says, you will sit the throne, Joffrey, and the truth will be what you make it? That's how it goes. And I'm waiting, and I've been waiting since season 1, and I've talked about this in a lot of reviews. How come nobody is sitting these people down and going, we do what we want. I forgot. Who's on the throne? Me. You. We are. The truth is what we make it. What we say goes. And they can shut up and deal with it. It doesn't matter if you're brown-haired. It doesn't matter if you're silver-haired. I understand where you're coming from, Jace, but we can do whatever we want. I think one of the best lines in this was Mysaria saying, your brothers will fight you. Your brothers are trying to kill you, Rhaenyra, and if bastards and commoners will rise for you, then let's use that. Let's change this up and go, the common people, like with Daenerys, they're trying to get that vibe across of, the common folk will support you. The small people will support you. You don't have to just have the great houses. Those we do need, but this is also very important. And that's kind of the Daenerys message of all this. And I don't mind that because they're not directly reminding us of it. But then when Rhaenyra says we'll have an army of bastards, I loved that. We have Adam and Corlys talking, and they know what the deal is, and they talk about who their mother was and all this and that, and I do feel this way. We are spending too much time. This is my one big gripe with this episode. You're spending way too much time trying to justify who's got dragon blood and who doesn't. It wasn't just House Targaryen that had dragons. It wasn't. I know these guys, a couple of them directly have a parent, and that's fine, but I just feel like we're dilly-dallying with that because you guys want to remind the audience like, oh no, remember they need dragon blood, and it's like, eh. And if you've been around, I've made 30 videos about this. They literally start throwing anybody on a dragon they can. It's called dragon seeds. That's who they are. That's who we call the bastards who get a dragon. But they literally at one point were chucking anybody they could on a dragon and seeing who fit where. Don't dwell on it too much. Not that serious, but if you really want to nitpick, then yeah, they have Targaryen blood somewhere. It's kind of like in the Game of Thrones when people were like, oh no, this person looks like that. And it's like, yeah, no, there's still people with the Valyrian features. They're not Targaryen blood, but they have Valyrian silver hair and purple eyes. And that's a thing. And I did like when Hugh, and we'll get to him more in a minute, brings up his mother and talks about that. Because that's a real thing in the books of people, if you're a woman and you have silver hair and light eyes, any brothel will hire you because so many people want to sleep with somebody who looks like a royal. And that goes all the way into what we call present day in Game of Thrones, even if they're not Targaryens. But I did like that being discussed. But let's talk about this. Now, the Tully banners show up to Harrenhal, and we're done playing Spooky Castle Stomp Around with Daemon. Now, I'm not saying I didn't like what they were doing. I don't need to see you bang your mom. We could have got that across better, but without going, I don't know, that was odd. That was a strange choice. But I don't hate what they're doing. It's just, like I said, the amount of walking around and staring at stuff. I'm like, ugh, can we speed this up a little bit? But anyway, we see the Fish of Tully on the banners coming. And that means Oscar Tully, the little kid, is coming, right? Who's now the Lord. And remember that he is like, you know how Ned is the Warden of the North? And so all the houses of the North listen to him? That's what the Tullys are. Remember, that's Cat, Ned Stark's wife's house. I love House Tully. They don't get the respect they deserve, so I loved seeing this. I thought all of this was awesome. But their house words are family, duty, honor. And they take that serious. And that's why when Daemon's like, he's essentially saying in the other episode, kill your grandpa. And he's like, what? Now, one thing I really loved was this kid was playing stupid. This kid was playing like he was some meek little thing. But the truth is, he knew what the deal was from the jump. We get Daemon and Oscar talking, and he's still playing it like, I know I'm green, and I know I'm new at this, and I know I'm young. And then when they get out in front of the lords, he's like, oh no, you didn't know that I know how to talk and I know this game. I was raised to rule. Let's go. This is also a young man's war. More young, Aemond, One Eye, this guy, Jace. There's a really cool character with the Greyjoys that becomes a thing running around, and he's called the Red Kraken, and he's young. And there's a lot of young people that pop up, murking people in this, and it's cool. But I loved Oscar telling him, they're going to hate you. We're big on oaths here. But, they're not going to listen to you because of the barbarity that's been going on and how barbaric it was and how you were treating how you were allowing the small folk to get slaughtered the way they were. This wasn't just a battle. This was, people were being brutalized outside of that battle that happened. He tells him, they're going to hate you. And he says, I don't need their love. And he's like, okay, fine, blah, blah, blah. And then they're finally out in front of everybody, right? And I do like that they're doing all this stuff in front of the weirwood trees, like in season 1 in King's Landing and here, because that's showing somebody can go back in time and watch those with the three-eyed raven stuff. Just, it doesn't matter, but just know that's a thing. Now, I love this. I love the River Lords trying to check Oscar, and I loved him going, yeah, but blah, 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 and it's your fault, Daemon. It's all your fault. I have no love for this guy, but we're still going to stand with our oath. He stood on business, and I really loved that about Oscar, but he's letting him know, no, you're going to kill this guy here. You're going to do it. I'm not doing it. You can do it, and you can prove to us that you want it. But that was just him getting top dog on Daemon and going, you're going to do what I say. And remember that. Now, also remember, when the Targaryens got overthrown, it was House Stark, House Baratheon, House Aaron, and House Tully. Those are the big players. That house was a part of that. They're nobody to sneeze at. And they have the best armor. Don't at me. But Daemon keeps trying to respond. I love that he keeps calling him Prince, like we talked about in my other review. Think about the Queen of England that just got offed. No man was called king, right? Because that monarch is considered above. That is considered above a king, is considered above a queen. So nobody gets called king. They get called prince. That's why that's a thing. And I love that they all keep reminding Daemon, like, you're king consort. But I love that Oscar, especially, he calls him prince twice in the middle of their back and forth in front of everybody, reminding him, like, remember that you're not the one in charge. Remember you're not the one we're swearing this oath to. Remember that we aren't doing this for you. But Oscar essentially saying, okay, boomer, was the best. And then being like, oh, wait, I forgot, you need us. You need our army. Now, Daemon respects it. Daemon's all about it. He respects this kid for doing what he's doing. But he's still irritated. He's mad that he's getting ordered around to do this, even if he doesn't mind taking this guy's head, which I get that that's a conflict for Daemon, having to do what this kid says. But also, why are we acting like taking this guy's head matters? Take it. Who cares? He was a little pawn you were using. Oh, like I've been saying, Aegon gets turned into Harvey Two-Face and essentially becomes addicted to milk of the poppy. He's like an opiate addict for the rest of this. But he waddles around a bit. But I do like this relationship between him and Laris, F up foot, but also we don't care about them. So stop doing these little, I don't know. I'm like, I don't like them, so you're not gonna make me sympathize. But him telling him, hey, I've been through this. I like that to an extent, and I understand it. And he's like, get up and keep working at this. But it's more of him telling the maester, hey, you shouldn't be doing this alone. He's saying this could be looked at a certain kind of way if something happens. Like, we need to be careful here. If you're trying to do like physical therapy with him and something goes down, it's going to fall on you, buddy. We have Corliss go and talk to the bald brother, the other bastard of his, the one that didn't get the dragon. And what I really loved them showing was why he shaves his head in the last episode, because the white hair comes in and he didn't want to be noticed. That is a common thing that happens throughout this book series, especially if Targaryens, and I'm not going to get into Dunk and Egg too much, but if a Targaryen is traveling across the country, a lot of times they'll cut their hair off so that nobody sees the silver hair and goes, oh, I should kidnap them for money or kill them or whatever for money, or because I don't like them. But Corliss and Alan talk, and I like Alan a lot. I like Adam. I have nothing against him. I think he's awesome. But Alan is the one I'm like, oh no, you're awesome. You're really cool. Because he kind of takes over the legacy for Corliss. He says, I'm salt and sea. I'm not what my brother is. And that's what Bela was saying in the other episode when she was like, grandfather, I'm fire and blood. I'm not salt and sea. But now Corliss has that heir to his name that is of his blood, that is about this life, and that's cool. Some people were saying that the Aarons in the Eyrie were kicking out Rhaena, the other daughter, the other black twin who doesn't have a dragon yet, but keeps seeing this burned up ground. People were like, oh no, the Aarons are kicking them out. I'm like, no, they had already established they're going to go hide there and then go to Pentos. And the Aarons are jerks. Their words are as high as honor, and just like with House Tully and showing how they act and knowing this is their house words, they don't play around. House Aaron is as high as honor, and they're snooty, and they're hoity-toity because they are from the First Men, but a lot of things they did are what established other things, like knights. They were the first ones to be knights and make that a whole thing and make that code, and they are very big on their old ways, and we started this, and we're above you. But some people are like, she's kicking them out. She wasn't kicking them out, but yes, she is a hoity-toity jerk. And yes, eventually she is going to get that dragon. Okay, so Alicent going on her little field trip to the water. Is that her just taking a beat, or was she going to off herself? I don't watch this after the show crap. I don't watch this House That Dragons Build. I'm like, no, that's HBO bogarting what we do on here and wanting to build the community and talk about stuff. And I hate that because they're paid employees. Nothing against them. But just because you tell me this is how something is, that's bullshit. I hate that. I really do, because everybody should be able to interpret this piece of media differently and not be spoon-fed everything like a dumb little baby. So I don't know if they talked about this, but I definitely took it as Alicent was somewhere in between, I'm going to off myself, or I just needed to take a beat. I don't exactly know, but I do feel like I liked it. I thought it was beautiful, but I feel like that kind of was hitting the brakes and derailing the episode a little bit. Now, some people thought this was boring, and I didn't. Now, the other episodes, like I said, they weren't explaining to the audience who these people were. So the bastards and the dragon seeds was being lost on people, and it just felt sluggish before. I'm not saying whatever, but it just... whatever. This was better. And some people were saying this was boring, and I loved this, was the messages getting into King's Landing about we are looking for all the Targaryen bastards. Now, I totally get why that Ulf, the guy in the bar, was stressing, and a lot of them were, because this could have been like a kill anybody who might come for us type thing. They might have just walked into an ambush and all had their heads cut off immediately. They don't know. Joffrey did it with Robert's bastards, had them all killed, ordered for them all to be slaughtered in their beds, so that there would be nobody to contend with them for the throne. The same thing that Jace is saying he's worried about. So then we have Hugh, right? We have Hugh the Hammer, the blacksmith, the guy whose daughter died, and then I'm like, see, we wasted way too much time with it, but I get it. But his wife telling him, I don't want to be a lady. The truth is, you probably wouldn't. They only want him. They probably wouldn't allow a commoner to even stay around, because they would need him for marriages if they decide to keep him around, is what I'm saying. So it's like, I wish they would have said that when he's like, oh, I could make it that you're a lady and this and that. And it's like, that probably wouldn't happen. But I also liked her response of, I don't want to be a lady. I just don't want to be a widow. The whole scene of getting the messages to the bastards and getting that through King's Landing and then getting them to Dragonstone, I thought was quick, was concise, and cool, and well done. Okay, remember when I said before, how come they're not vetting these High Valyrian speaking dragon raisers? I did like this little back and forth between them and Rhaenyra of them saying, this is an abomination, this is magic that nobody else has, this is magic the world only knows here, and that's special. And it's kind of like the opposite of the Maesters, who are like logic, learning, science, magic has no place here, and we're going to protect that, and we're not going to just let anybody in. That's kind of what they were saying, even because at first I'm like, oh, are you guys just being jerks? Kind of like Jace. I was like, ugh, that's kind of mean. But the truth is, no, they're saying we're very protective of this order and what it's supposed to be, and we're not participating in it. And I don't agree with them, but I get why they did that. Then, Rhaenyra's little pep talk, when she's like, maybe it's blood, maybe it's worth, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I wish they would just say, dragons are highly intelligent, and they bond with somebody, and it is what it is, and we literally have no control over them. A dragon is not a slave. But she's just like, let's get to it. Hey, pep talk here. Vermithor is big, the second biggest in the world, called the Bronze Fury. Love Vermithor, cool dragon. But yeah, I know there's like 60 of you, but we got 2 dragons, and this is probably gonna go bad for a lot of you, so I give you credit. And then when she just dips out of the room, I was like, oh my God, that would be horrifying. But Vermithor showing up was sick. The shot of her turning around and having him behind her was sick. But I'll be honest with you guys, I think the final shot is what they should have been using for the promo, not that. They should have been, I get that it's reminiscent of her being in front of the skull, but no, you should have been using that one at the end with the 3 dragons behind her. That was sick. But that was an awesome shot of Vermithor and her in front of him, and then she's just like, nope, I'm out like Trout. And we're watching these people get held in and all that shit. That was crazy. And then I'm always saying this, like, I get it. We can argue the moral conundrum of like the small folk are dying and these armies are being massacred, and these are like nuclear warheads, and it's super sad. But at the same time, we want to see these dragons tear it up, and they tore it up, and I didn't want to see all these people die, but I'm like, no, this is a goddamn massacre, and it's awesome. But not only are these bastards dying, her guard is dying, her men that are holding them in are dying. These dragons do not discriminate. Now, Ulf, the guy from the bar, not Hugh the Hammer who gets Vermithor, he ran off. He got knocked down and ran off. And I thought that was really cool when he ran right into the egg pit. I thought that was sick and scary and cool. Now, his dragon is Silverwing, and that's who he's riding. At first, I was like, oh my God, it took off, and they're never going to get it back. When we started hearing the council, and we heard all these people going, dragon sighted, and I loved how Aemond immediately was like, let's go. My one issue is, I don't care what the books say about certain things. You guys have established, and this is true, like I keep saying, a dragon is not a slave. That's why Vhagar didn't listen to Aemond. It's like a suggestion coming from them. It's not a definitive thing. They might not accept an order. But Vhagar did not accept what you were saying and offed that kid, Luke, in season 1. Why is she listening now? I get what they were doing. You were trying to say, hey, he sees that they really have gotten other dragon riders. We see that they are upping the game. We are seeing that we are upping the ante here. And I loved him chasing after it. And like I said, it also shows how close these places are. That this guy probably just made a wrong turn and then it's like, oh shit, I'm in King's Landing. That's how close Dragonstone is to King's Landing. But having Aemond chase them on Vhagar and then just being like, hey, chill, flee, isn't something they established before. And also Vhagar probably wouldn't do it. But I get it, and I liked it, and I liked everything about it. And then, like I said, I think the scene cutting over to Rhaenyra with the 3 behind her was the coolest shot they've had. But I'm not going to lie. I was disappointed. I was down. I did go on vacation for a week, and I was like, oh, I'll record at my cabin. But then I'm like, these last 2 episodes have been a snooze fest, and it's not the stuff in it. It's the walking around and gawking. It's the staring. It's the, we have 30 seconds of walking somewhere. Why? You should have sprinkled more information about the bastards sooner. But I'm going to be real with you guys. This episode got me back in, and I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm on OF. I'm on TikTok. I'm on all the things down below. But yeah, we're back in, baby. And I really loved it.